Hey bitches.
Hey bitches.
I'm Joey.
I'm Ashley.
And welcome to
One Time
Mystery.
What a mystery.
Hey mung beans. So I'm feeling a little bit strange tonight, and I will tell you for why. On the one hand, I'm so excited because tonight is the first paranormal podcast, and on the other hand, I will be solo because Ashley can't join us for this episode. Unfortunately, Ashley's not feeling well because Ashley's a little bitch. So, snuggle up. It'll be just the two of us. Muy romantico, if you will. Unless you are my family. And then that will be muy disgustingo. So, let's not. And moving right along from that horrible train of thought. You, dear listener. Have you ever experienced anything paranormal? Seen an apparition? Heard disembodied voices? Knocking on the walls? Someone walking across the floor when no one's around? Seen items levitate or throw themselves across the room? Just me? Psych. I've never actually seen anything like that happen before. But I'm also not really looking to drive through that neighborhood. But you might be, Earthling. So, if you are, or you have experienced a paranormal event of your own, how about you send us an email? onetimemysteries@gmail.com. And while we're on that topic, please don't forget to follow us and like everything you can on our TikTok page and our Instagram at onetimemysteries. And on that note, grab your nips and steady your hips. It's about to begin. I'm absolutely thrilled to do our first paranormal podcast, and there's nothing better to start with than this frightening tale. You might be thinking, what's with the accent? Well, I can't do a Leeds West Yorkshire accent. This is what you're getting instead, so let's just use our imaginations, okay? Good. This week, we find ourselves in West Yorkshire, a little over 4 hours north of London. Today, we are talking about what is considered to be the most violent haunting in Britain. The Pontefract poltergeist, aka the Black Monk of Pontefract. Yeah, I'll stop the accent, I get it. But picture this. It's August of 1966, and the Pritchard family moved into the new home. A semi-detached house located at, you guessed it, 30 East Drive, Pontefract, West Yorkshire. Their dad, Joe, mother, Jean, and two children, Philip, 15, and Echo Diane, age 12, started what was to be a 40-year Fright Night stuck on repeat. I don't think so. No thank you. I wanted to provide a summary of the events they encountered because not everything is actually covered in this podcast, but during their stay, they experienced small random pools of water forming, lights turning on and off again, furniture being overturned, pictures being slashed, objects levitating or disappearing, the sound of heavy breathing, and foul smells throughout the house. Side note, in severe hauntings, it is usually described as the smell of putrefaction. Yummy. It was the same year they moved in, and Grandma was in town to watch the kids while Joe and Jean were horning it up somewhere on holiday when the first phenomenon occurred. Philip and his granny witnessed a fine layer of chalk-like dust falling. But not from the ceiling. No. From a level below head height. Dandruff, dear audience? I think not. The children's aunt, Mrs. Callie, who was also in the house, was called into the room to see the strange event unfold. She ran into the kitchen to grab some cleaning accoutrement. I mean, the kids' parents were due home any day now, and you didn't want them to think that Grandma was doing rails in the living room with the kids again. I digress. When entering the kitchen, Mrs. Callie slipped on a pool of water that mysteriously appeared. Like me, you're probably thinking, big deal, someone spilled some water, but just like me, you would be wrong. Now, with more to clean up and knowing that old Gam wasn't going to do it, and of course not wanting anyone else to slip, she grabbed a bucket and a mop, but every time she removed the water, new pools would form on the lino in front of her very eyes. Philip also witnessed this. 2 years later, in 1968, the poltergeist had its first public name, Mr. Nobody, which it had received from the local press, but at home they liked to refer to him simply as Fred. No matter what they tried, they couldn't convince him to move out, and just like Fred, Jean wasn't about to budge either, because Jean was a total badass. Normally in movies you hear about children seeing things first and telling their parents, who in most film adaptations brush it off as an overactive imagination. However, in this case, it was the parents who would be the first to come face to face with Fred, when one evening they saw a terrifying shadow figure floating over their bed in what appeared to be a cloak. It was this description that would solidify Fred's identity as a monk. And soon enough, everyone in the family had seen the apparition, including investigators, police, a local MP, who I believe to have been Joseph Harper, but only because he was a local MP for Pontefract around that time, and a vicar. But don't worry, it wasn't the vicar of Dibley. There were many exorcisms that were attempted, but none of them were successful and were met with anger and violence. Holy water would seep from the walls, people's faces would get slapped, and some people were even pushed down the stairs. But don't worry, while many of these acts are frightening, it is also said that sometimes he had a little sense of humor and would leave the children in stitches. One time, while eating breakfast, he slowly emptied an entire jug of milk over the skeptical aunt's head. Tell me it ain't real now, bitch. Many people were trying to get to the bottom of this, and an investigator by the name of Tom Cunniff spent many years researching the case, and he discovered that the town's gallows used to be situated directly across the street from the house. Ashley, if you're still listening, gallows were where you were hung, and I'm not talking eggplant. It is claimed that he discovered a Cluniac monk had been hanged for the rape and murder of a young girl who was reported to be roughly the same age as the Pritchard's daughter, Diane, who was generally on the receiving end of Fred's attention. Now, I looked high and low and I couldn't find anything at all to back this up, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, it just means that I couldn't find it, and bitch, I spent hours looking, and I went through some really scary records about other disgusting stuff, but I could not find anything that matched that data. Either way, this startling information truly cemented the title of the Black Monk of Pontefract, as now it was believed that there was factual information to lend credence to the hauntings. Typically, poltergeists will throw things around and make loud noises, but it is rare that they cause physical harm to people. However, Fred was extra and doing the most. As time passed and the children grew older, it seemed like Fred took issue, and on one occasion, Diane was seriously assaulted. Diane's long hair suddenly lifted into the air and stood on its end shortly before an unseen force dragged her through the house and up the stairs, kicking and screaming. Finger marks were still visible on her neck once the attack ceased. No, not me. I'd be out of there. I would be out of there so quickly. Goodbye, Pontefract. Goodbye, UK. See ya. Not doing it, nah. In 2012, there was a movie directed by Pat Holden that was titled When the Lights Went Out, which was loosely based on the events that took place in that home. They absolutely took creative license, but it is a really good film, and I recommend that you see it at least once. And in 2015, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Most Haunted, did a two-parter on this property. It was season 17, episodes 1 and 2, for those of you who actually want to go and check it out, where you get to see some of the events firsthand. During Yvette's introduction, she gets distracted as she sees something thrown behind one of the cameramen, and it turns out to be a small blue marble that looks like it was thrown directly out of a wall. At one point, they find a sharp knife protruding from the sofa and show some B-roll footage. And was there a knife in there moments before? Nope, there was no knife. Other events happen, like a doll being thrown, which freaks Carl out, ping pong balls being moved on the floor, more marbles being thrown and found, Carl passing out, coming to, and then passing out again, and perhaps the most frightening part of it all, Carl and Stuart both receive a severe rope burn on their arms in the same spot at the exact same time. There are many photos online from private investigators which are quite frightening. One showing the reflection of a robed figure, and one which was honestly probably more frightening to me, and it was the image of a cloaked arm all the way up to the shoulder, sticking out from behind a wall, holding what appeared to be rosary beads. And the strangest part of it all is that you can actually still rent this property, which goes from between £300 to £400 per night, even though it states there that the owner recommends that you do not visit, especially if you are nervous or have a heart condition. They also have a legal notice, which I'll read out to you. Legal notice. Please read and carefully understand before booking. Please ensure that you and your guests carefully read and fully understand our terms and conditions as set out in our house rules/waiver, as upon booking you/they agree to relinquish all legal rights to any kind of claim whatsoever pertaining to your visit. Everyone enters 30 East Drive entirely at their own risk. Alcohol is not permitted. They also mention that you are not allowed to bring a Ouija board and that exorcisms are also prohibited. Are you out of your tiny mind? I don't know who's going to be booking that place to go and stay. I don't. Aside from like paranormal investigators, I understand that there's a kind of energy that they look for. There's a kind of buzz. It gives them a kind of drive, something that they really love doing. That ain't me, Chief. That ain't something I'm about to put my life on the line for. Even if I don't die, I will be traumatized for life. That is not something that I could do. But on that note, we really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, don't forget to give it a like, add it to your playlist, and share the fuck out of us. We like it like that. We're sluts. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok by searching for Wine Time Mysteries, or send us an email at winetimemysteries@gmail.com and let us know about your little paranormal experiences too, because those things are interesting. Or if you just had any questions, or if you had topics that you would like us to cover. So don't be a stranger, and hopefully we will see you next time. Bye.